Welcome to People. I'm Micah Mater. Our first guest is not only preserving Black history, he's made a lot of it himself. President of the National Urban League, Marc Morial, served the city of New Orleans as its youngest mayor from 1994 to 2002. He went on to become a Louisiana state senator, and now he's a national leader working on a project that will bring visitors from around the world to Harlem. Hello, sir. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Micah, great to be with you. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, good day, good morning, Chicago.
Oh, yes, for sure. The Urban Civil Rights Museum in Harlem. Where did that idea come from?
So this idea emerged from the National Urban League's centennial, which took place in 2010 when we put together a mini museum, a traveling exhibit of the National Urban League's 100-year history. And what dawned from that is we needed something permanent, not to tell the story of the Urban League alone, but to tell the story of Black America and civil rights in the northern states of the United States. So this museum is very different because it will focus on the northern Black, the northern civil rights experience. That includes from slavery to abolition, to the Great Migration and the Harlem Renaissance, to the urbanization and the change in the power dynamic of America's cities in the latter half of the 20th century. So we're excited. We'll open this museum, the Urban Civil Rights Museum, in the National Urban League's new Urban League Empowerment Center headquarters in the fall of this year.
I love that. 100 years for the National Urban League, but also 100 years for Black History Month. Can you believe 100 years?
I can believe 100 years, but what is much more challenging is why, at this point, there would be those that want to ban books. There would be those that would want to cancel African American history courses at colleges and universities. There would be those that want to crack down on the quest for equal opportunity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's the troubling element of the times, indeed, in which we live. So in many ways, this museum is a response to that moment, which we want to say as forcefully as we can: we will not be erased. We will tell the story authentically. We will tell the story very accurately. We'll tell the story, the good, the bad, and the difficult, and the ugly.
Sir, the majority of the country, according to a study, is pro-DEI. So how did we get to this point?
I think we got to this point because of the MAGA movement. I think the MAGA movement has sought to divide Americans, to suggest that somehow DE&I creates an unfair advantage for some Americans, when what DE&I is about is leveling the playing field so that all Americans, including those that have historically been locked out and left out, have the opportunity to rise up the ladder in corporate America, in universities, in government. And this is what's so important. I view equal opportunity, I view diversity, equity, and inclusion as being consistent with the American value proposition. And that value proposition was laid out by the Founding Fathers. They may have got the words right. They fumbled badly on the execution because they embraced and endorsed slavery. But this generation, like many generations, we have to see ourselves as constitutional perfecters, as people who are going to continue to really pursue the great ideals and certainly work towards ensuring that the country lives up in reality and in action what it says on paper.
How is this hurting us?
Well, I would give you a few examples. So one of the most troubling things has been the spike in the Black unemployment rate. The Black unemployment rate has gone up significantly in the last year. It's gone up higher than the unemployment rate for any other community. Also, we've seen African American women take the brunt of this anti-DE&I attack.
Don't we
with
always?
Some 600,000 is what the numbers we have, having been laid off. These are very talented, qualified, well-educated African American women. African American women who've worked in all aspects in the workforce. So this is what's troubling, is that the impact is being felt in paychecks. The impact is being felt in people's ability to take care of their families. The impact is being felt very broadly in all 50 states across the nation. And I am clear that but for these pernicious attacks, this would not be occurring. And I'm concerned that we're only seeing the beginning of it in terms of the impact it has. This is why we must work together to push back. This is why we must work together to say to people that diversity, equity, and inclusion and merit go hand in hand. What it says is give everybody with merit a chance.
You could say that all day and all night, but how do we make it actually happen?
We have to agitate, we have to educate, we have to organize, and we have to vote. I think an important element of this is voting, because very importantly, these attacks have been enabled by those that won the last election. Let's be clear. The election had an impact. It ushered in these anti-democratic policies, these anti-diversity policies. It ushered in this shift of resources away from healthcare and education to billionaires in this country. Look, we've got to understand that at the root, the question is, what will our priorities be as a nation? Is our priority going to be to develop a nation where we can all thrive, when we can all find prosperity? So it's a political struggle. It's a moral struggle. I call on business leaders to stand up strong. I call on elected officials from all parties to stand up strong. I call on those of us in the civil rights community to do as much as we can and to do even more. And I think people need to understand that their power to, if you assemble, to use their voice, to protest when necessary and needed, and to vote is the power we have in a democracy.
What is the state of Black America right now in your eyes?
A state of emergency, with progress of the last 70 years being attacked in a very vociferous way, in a very systemic way. We are in a state of emergency. And I think that goes not only for Black America, but it goes for America writ large.
It's interesting that you say that only, not just for Black America, but America, because Blacks are a part of America. America is a part of the whole diaspora right now. So, you know, who's going to step up? Who's going to lead this country into the right state of mind?
So I really believe that sometimes we are looking for a savior. We're looking for a preeminent leader. But what history teaches us is that the most important leaders are local leaders. The most important leaders are grassroots leaders. And those leaders create the climate for someone to emerge at a national level and really, really speak for the masses of Americans who I think right now have great, great challenges. The economy is not in a good place. It's not in a better place than it was a year ago. The state of affairs in many of our cities, you saw the effort to militarize Chicago. You certainly see what is happening in Minneapolis. These things are pernicious. They are not necessary, and they are counterproductive. And I think you now see Americans from all walks of life speaking up and speaking out against a set and a series of policies which are not designed to bring Americans together, not designed to solve problems, but designed to play politics and to divide us.
People who are watching today, how do they get involved in the Urban League?
Well, I want to say we have one of the great affiliates in the Urban League movement right there in Chicago, the Chicago Urban League, headed by Karen Freeman Wilson and a dynamic team, staff, and board. I'd love for people of Chicago to consider being a member, getting involved. If you're interested even further to be a part of this conversation, you can go to @NatUrbanLeague or @MarkMorial and be part of our social media community. You can go to nul.org and sign up to receive the Remarks newsletter on a weekly basis. You can otherwise get involved in other civil rights, social justice organizations, faith-based organizations that are working to meet the moment. My call to action is for people to be involved, to be active, to be participants, not to sit, not to watch, not to be spectators, not to be observers.
Mark Morial, so nice to have you today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.